Good evening, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome to the broadcast tonight. Thanks for tuning in, taking some time out of your evening. We got a great AMA lined up tonight. You're listening to myself, Josh. I'm joined by Idon. Give everybody just a minute to get in here. Go ahead and spam the like button. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps us in the algorithm. Let everybody else know that we're live. So everybody that cares about crypto, play to earn, ChainGuardians, they can hop in here and hear about what's going on with internal staking. That's the whole reason of the AMA today. So you guys already know a little bit about me. I run a lot of the social media, make a lot of the content stuff. You guys get to interact with me here and there pretty much on a daily basis. So you guys have already heard a lot about me in the past. I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to my man, the myth, the legend, Idon. Idon, go ahead and tell everybody who you are, what you do for ChainGuardians. He is one of the core founders of this vision of bringing this entire creation to existence. So go ahead and kick it over to you, Idon.
Yeah, hey guys, it's great to come back. I know I appear only once every so often, but just busy, heads down, working on development, partnership, etc. So that's kind of my main focus. My background is tech, and I guess I focus a lot with technical engagement. So as you know, as Chain Guardian, our vision was always create superheroes for every single blockchain. So I guess for us, when we create superhero for it's always with the executive team or high level sponsor from that chain. And a lot of time we're also looking at technical engagement. So which means how do we adopt and use this solution as part of our overall ecosystem? So obviously a lot of potentially technical integration. So that's where I spend most of my time.
How did you get the nickname NFT Professor? I have to ask you.
Oh, great. So I was involved in creating or in playing, be part of the community initially. Was a project called Ethereum. They were, I think, one of the first blockchain battle game in 2018. So it was actually, I think, started, the first NFT minted was 2017. So quite early around the CryptoKitties age.
Oh, wow.
So I was just very interested in, fascinated with the tokenomic, crypto in general, and how back then they had a token as well. So it was everything around how does that economy work with a real token. So within that ecosystem, every time they create a feature, I was always the one like complaining or like saying, hey,
you get to critique it.
Yeah, like how about a tokenomic? That's gonna impact the value. And to the extent where like all of those devs over there, the community started calling me like yes professor, and that's kind of where that name come up. Like the community actually came up with the name NFT professor. Then I kind of just adopted over the years. Yeah,
I think those are the coolest nicknames when like they just genuinely like authentically originate and somebody just like throws it out there and it sticks. Like those are the coolest ones. And you earned that nickname is what I'm hearing. Like you actually like put your opinions and your voice out there and you earned that, which is just really cool. It's kind of fun, man. So I want to go ahead and get right into some meat and potatoes, right? We're having this live stream tonight because of internal staking being live. And there's a big change with internal staking. We have a 2-token model. We have the power token that's involved in there. But to get the question started, I really want to ask you, like, what went behind picking a 2-token model, and why didn't we just go with single-sided staking CGG, just stake it and earn CGG? What went behind that?
Yeah. The original thought behind was to have a flexible ecosystem. So our actual smart contract, when we designed it, is a very simple and elegant smart contract that allow us to stake any token for any token. So that is the design of the contract. What we intended to do is, yes, you can stake a LP, which is like Uniswap LP.
Yeah.
Then you can get any token. It could be all token. It could be another partner token. So it's a very flexible system. But in execution, when we're looking at what will we create, what will we earn, we want to use something that's going to have a relatively simple experience for the user right from the start.
Yeah.
So at the same time, the only, I guess, differentiator between why we didn't do a CGG to CGG, I think that's the main question, which everyone else does, is mainly it's a regulatory concern. Of course, as Chain Guardian, we are a registered company, and our headquarters is currently based in Hong Kong, and we follow very tight regulatory requirements. And so and also because we have chain views, right? So which means we does everything like with legal so check off. And they often come to us and say, just because everyone else in the cryptoverse or in the everyone else out there is doing it this way doesn't mean it's legal.
Right.
So the key thing is technically right now, how people are saying stake a token to get another token. Technically, can say it's passive earning, but the only thing that's getting by for those project that is doing it, and I'm just kind of sharing some of the legals.
Yeah, it's great for all of
Yeah,
us.
is that your action of you clicking a button, you can call that gamified, that you're actually doing an action. So I
Yeah.
think that becomes very great. We think that within half a year's time or so, that may be caught up, which means formal regulation may come out and say, no, that's not really gamified. You need to do something a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we decided that at this stage, we want to kind of keep as safe as possible, given that we use CGG across a very wide range of our entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
So we prompted to create something else, which is like the PAL token. But the other thing I want to mention is the challenge. We talked, obviously, we have many VCs and interested stakeholders. A lot of them come to us and ask, okay, the challenge is, of course, everyone does their token to get more of their token, but how do you create value so that it does not become deflationary to your original token? So that was kind of the idea to say, okay, well, let's think of other ways not to do CG to CG. We can, but that would add directly, a deflationary value to CGG. So that's why we try to avoid that and create a slight variation.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because you're kind of forward thinking on like just because it's not against regulations right now, we know that regulations are changing and constantly evolving, and so we're kind of trying to be a step ahead of the curve to what we know they're probably going to change too. And I mean, to me, I think that's just incredibly smart because we're just making it easier for users a year from now, 2 years from now, where other companies, who knows, right? It's just a question mark if they're not playing that card right. So introducing the second token to get around the legal factor and be able to create a more sustainable system, introduce the power token. What else what does that power token do in the ecosystem? What is that token?
Yeah. So fundamentally, I want to mention why we call it power token. So the original idea of CGG was Chain Guardian Governor. It's not even governance. It's, you are getting a Chain Guardian Governor token, as in you are the governor. The actually concept came from because I'm Asian, and then I played a lot of Romance of the Three Kingdom game. I don't know if anyone out there does. So the idea was always like you are the governor, so therefore what does the governor? It's good you have a role, but with role you got to be able to exercise your power. So that's kind of the idea to say, okay, you are a Chain Guardian governor. You will then gain by being in position, so having your governor token. Over time, you will gain power. So what can the power do? So taking a concept from like Romance Kingdom, Three Kingdom, which is with power, you can then recruit characters to help you, through your battle. And that's why we had the CGG, and later we can probably talk more, which is the power token, which you can continue to accumulate more and more power. And for that, you can then able to earn or do stuff. So that's kind of the original concept of the power token.
Has there been any conversation about like evolving the utility of the power token, or is right now like the concept being that this is its use case is right here within the realms of internal staking?
Yeah. So I think that there's two things we want to mention there. Firstly is we think of kind of currently CGG to CGD, there isn't a direct any way you can farm. So people who want to be able to stake it, they want to be getting something. So we talked about earlier, we didn't want to give CGG, so creates deflationary pressure. So we wanted to create something else. So that's essentially kind of where the power token come from. Of course, there is a lot of stuff we can do, given it's a token which is in a way that we never sold it any to, I would say, private VC as well. It does open up a flexibility. You can think of it almost like a traditional in-game token, which means in our perspective, it's almost like you can gain it freely from the ecosystem. You don't have to pay. So you're just kind of staking or playing a game, you get under this power token. So that opens up a lot of possibility, which means we can more easily use it for something like you can use it for, let's just say, in the form of bidding or in the form of I don't want to use the word betting, but essentially because it's in game, for us in a way we didn't set a value to it. It's almost a gift, so therefore you can do what you want with it. Which means if you want to compete and bet the power token with each other, technically you could, because we are not putting any value to it. So for us, it is a token which is that people can gain. Now, I just want to go back to the earlier point is, of course, the other way where people can get CGG right now on something like Dino Swap in the past Pancake Swap is if you stake LP pair, which is CGG with USDC, then you can actually get some additional token from these third party additional CGG from third party platform. But now the reason why we kind of course, the main thing is that creates a risk because you're also supplying the other side. So token price, if the token price drops, then you kind of lose out on your your USDC stake.
Yeah.
So we wanted to create an incentive where people do not want to risk the CGG. They're just holding it, but they want to be more involved in the ecosystem, which means get better chain boost score, be able to just hold and benefit. So that's why I created this intermediate token. By holding and kind of participating in the ecosystem, now you can slowly grow your chain boost score by getting the power token and then kind of getting your C tokens and then getting more character, which automatically, because of you're more holding, you're keeping holding, and also you're getting more character, you will become it's sort of like a loyalty program in a way.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like that.
Get more character and more scores, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's cool that you can get rewarded for playing the game, and then in the power token or in any of these various ways competing for it, and then you can use that to build your boost score as well. Versus holding your CGG being like the core way of doing it, you kind of get to layer that extra way to reward the gamers who are getting power token in some way, which is kind of fun. There's a lot of people in chat that are having fun with the fact that it's POW for short. They're just like pow pow. It's kind of fun. That's great. So I was wondering how the power token was going to fit into Chain Boost and Chain Bunnies, and you had brought it up about it impacting the score. Is there going to be any relation with the Chain Bunnies NFTs? Will there be anything with that?
Yeah, we are discussing a few strategy there. Is mainly on how the power token will be used. We actually the power token can be earned actually in two different ways. One inside staking, and the other one is we're actually going to put some power token inside the NFT mining platform. We're currently at NFT mining 1.0, which is something we released obviously since 2018. Now, when we first started, part of it you would get earning this off-chain token called CGG, and then we started adding token from different partner like the Bit token, or CGG token. So we are likely going to move that more towards everything on chain. So which means everything you earn from the staking NFT mining platform will be on chain token. So this will include the power token. We're also looking at potentially tying that to Chain Bunnies more so. So which means going back to kind of original plan of giving a specific pool for Chain Bunnies. So which means certain tokens you must have a Chain Bunny to be able to farm. So that's kind of the direction we're going down. Whether it be power token or C token, or it could be a combination of them, but it will be more what you got use case for Chain Bunnies. In addition to obviously it will make it to the Cryptoverse too in the future. So we can tap onto that later.
Well, you just mentioned the C tokens, right? And that was something that I was wondering, how does having that additional C token just create extra sustainability? Is that the reason for that being there? Well, what's a reason for the C token?
Well, the original creation, so the reason why we have a C token is kind of twofold. We wanted to use a model that kind of did work. And in a way that it was a adjusted model. So what I mean by that, it's a fractionalized token that can mint an NFT. It was from a technical perspective, it's a little bit easier to create the C token. So as you know, we have a different C token for each NFT card. So the end-to-end flow, for those not familiar, is you have CGG, you just want to hold, right? You don't want to stake it as an LP, whatever. You just want to hold it for chain boost or whatever, or longer term hold it. So then you're able to earn this power token. So power token for us is designed exactly like a cake token in a way from Pancake Swap. So which means it is generated per block as you stake power. So now once you have the power token, what we wanted to create is a replica of what we did for PancakeSwap, which was the cake token to get, sorry, the mix token to get Mixi, the NFT.
Mm.
So C token became that, which is we're gonna have a lot of different characters, not limited to whatever that's released. Pretty much every quarter or so, or even sooner, we'll have new character that will be available via these new C token. So these C token just represent the fractional version of your final NFT characters. So why we did that, it allows two things. A is if we ever want to undo that. So there's a popular platform now called NFTX, right? Which kind of does similar, which is you can take any NFT, fractionalize it, and then kind of have a pool on Uniswap so that you kind of maintain the floor price equivalent to that price. It's a little bit, you have to understand that platform a little bit, but essentially you can create a floor price for that NFT. So there was a thought about able to come back to fractionalized token. Secondly, it's a supply thing. So which means we wanted to create something so that we know exactly how many C token to create, therefore how many NFT. Right now it's 1,000 to 1. So that was like kind of, there was a multiple design decision leading us to making the C token the way that it was.
Yeah.
Mainly the main trigger was let's take the mix and mixy concept and kind of recreate that. So thus we have this additional C token layer.
I mean, so as new characters get added on in the future, you have the flexibility to ensure that there's not an influx of supply or demand. Is that what I'm hearing, basically?
Yeah. So there's also two concepts about the PAL token. One question which I didn't fully answer earlier is yes, there is intent and plan to use PAL token for where you can say more of the riskier type of functionality from a platform perspective, which means if we want to use it to say, hey, if you have 10,000 PAL token, I have 10,000 PAL token, can I play some kind of game which I can earn your PAL token? Technically, if that token had a value, it would definitely be an issue because essentially, it's borderlining gambling. So we were trying to avoid that to say, well, the PAL token is something you earn for free. So therefore, the you can kind of do anything with it. So that opens up that model. And secondly, which also means that can you now have PAL token, earn more PAL token, will earn other stuff. It opens up a lot more things which we're not able to do directly. Have you had a token which we issued directly and sold? So that was kind of the main concept. But overall, yes, we do plan to create more C token. We do create other incentives. So there's two ways that we're gonna make sure, because PAL token right now just increase over time.
Yeah.
If you look at kind of the other platform that create these token, they also has a burn mechanism for that. So the burn mechanism for us is initially going to be from time to time we reserve the first few mint, so the number 1, 2, and 3. And those will likely, the plan is to have that as a auction. So once a quarter, we might say the number 3 or the number 1 will be for auction for whoever want to pay the PAL token. So then you have an exclusive access to kind of, and at the same time, burn a lot of those PAL tokens.
Yeah.
So there's a few interesting ways we're thinking about overall how to reduce the PAL token. But in another way, it's really interesting because whoever participated early, obviously it's almost like, think of it almost like Bitcoin, right? Because whoever started early, like Satoshi, you get a lot more token. But overall, I would imagine someone will create a PAL token pool themselves, which anyone's open to, and then they'd be able to sell that to other people to want to get more power. So in a way, it's a fair launch in a way. So it'll be interesting how the PAL token is in the future.
Well, and that's what I was wondering is you were mentioning about how there's not like the intrinsic value because we're not just selling it. You have to go and you earn it from the game and those things. So is there the intent for it to ever be listed on a DEX or anything in the future? Like, will we ever be doing any of that stuff, or is it all up to the community?
Yeah. So precisely for us, from a platform perspective, that token is a gamified token.
Yeah.
So we do not operate with that PAL token. So we currently have no plan on adding any LP pool or adding any additional, staking. I would say essentially buying or operating or selling this token directly. So just like Bitcoin, which means Satoshi don't provide his net worth against Bitcoin. we anticipate that we will provide value to that ecosystem, to the power, and then eventually it will gain value through that. So one of the key things is, we are extending several of our platform. There will be more stuff we can do for the staking. For example, we were talking about earlier, if you all of a sudden your other NFT can also become C tokens, then if power tokens is still the main thing that can operate with it, there's a lot more stuff we can do there, which means extending more of the DeFi stuff we can do
Yeah.
in terms of meeting regulatory compliance at the same time, having this token work. And secondly, we will be having what you call NFT mining 2.0. That's kind of currently in testnet as well. So we'll likely have some, more ways you can earn those power token and work to operate with that power token. There's quite a few things because in the NFT mining 2.0, it's almost like a space themed game.
Yeah.
So we might think of other creative way to burn a power token to be used within that ecosystem.
Well, I mean, it's fun to think about how there's so many things you have to consider whenever you're designing an ecosystem, where it's not just the sustainability of like the tokenomics, but you also have to do that delicate balance between what will work and what is legal. And that is really interesting. And you guys have crafted it in a way that not only is allowing us to aggressively move forward with these ideas, but it creates flexibility so that if we have a new idea in the future that we need to act on, we can, because you're not stuck in a box the way you're building it, which is fun to hear you unpack it the way that you are. Because for just like a lot of the viewers that are here in the chat, a lot of this stuff, like, I mean, I'm still learning a lot of the crypto stuff. So whenever I have a chance to talk to people with your level of education who can break it down and actually really peel back the curtain for us, it's amazing. And somebody was joking earlier in the chat because, like I use the language of like supply and demand, coming from a retail background and stuff. And I really like to kind of blend the language between like what I hear people commonly talk about and some of this deeper tech level stuff, because that's really where I feel like we get a lot of people to flood in is they got to be able to understand it. So, speaking of understanding, that's a good time for, if any of the community has any questions you guys want to ask, go ahead and start typing those out, guys. Any questions that get asked in the stream today are going to get rewarded with some CGG. So, or actually it might be stablecoin. I think we actually got our stablecoin set up to where we're doing rewards in those. So go ahead and fire your questions away in chat. I got one or two more questions here for Idon that I'm going to ask, and then we're going to pick a couple questions from the chat here. So go ahead and fire away, everybody. So right now, I'm looking back at my questions that I had here. The next question I have for you is, when we're integrating more chains into ChainGuardians, is that all going to be integrated into the internal staking, or is it just going to continue to be represented with characters through the NFTs?
Yeah, so I want to mention, like, in terms of our chain strategy overall.
Okay.
We want to, of course, believe in the future of multi-chain being the dominant thing, which you do see this now very clearly.
Yeah.
Which means, many chain, Solana, you have Luna, you have Avalanche, many of chains which is ready have adoption. A lot of EVM is coming to fruition as well. At the same time, there's the need for that, because even if major chains like Polygon, BSC, from time to time, they still suffer from low balancing, essentially. So which means having periods of time where there's a lot of traffic. So for us, it's always about working with various different blockchain. We are pretty much talking to, I would say, 90% of the blockchains out there that already have something in production. We have or currently working with them. Some of them, because of a long pipeline, characters for them will be developed as well. In terms of that, so which means, yes, moving CGG across to those ecosystem by default is something that we will do, especially for the project once we have deployed NFTs with them. We're also looking more aggressively in terms of our node infrastructure as well.
Okay.
So which means historically we do run nodes. So for example, on Polygon, we are one of the top 10 validator for Polygon, right? We have I think like something like 66 million, Matic token delegated on our node. So we'll continue to expand that, which means when we work with a project, we're not saying, hey, we're going to design your character and that's it. Right? First of all, we work with the full executive team to recreate kind of the the branding. Essentially, it's extension of the branding. but then we also use the ecosystem and support the infrastructure. So that was always the entire thing, which is it's a not just a light touch, but it's a full engagement. So which means yes, we will expand CGG to this ecosystem.
Okay.
We will be using bridges onto various different on these chain. There is quite a few. I think when Polygon first started, they have a single their own bridge, but nowadays I think many new solutions have came out, which a lot of very good bridge is already multi-chain. So in that case, like we will be directly working on partners to do that. We're also there's one other thing we're also looking at. It's a multi-chain NFT strategy, which means by default when we release our NFT, it is already multi-chain capable. We have did some work in the past moving NFTs. Like I think we're the first, or we are the first ever NFT that was on Polygon to cross chain since 2018, but that was within the AlphaNet. So like back then we're really pushing all of that stuff. And then later, I think last year we created that NFT bridge to BSC, right, via our other partner, P Network. So, but nowadays, I think the infrastructure is getting more mature. A lot more people doing bridges. So definitely interoperability will be for this, all would make sense. And we bring all that ecosystem into our Cryptoverse project as well.
That makes sense. Do we have the plan to be able to allow people to directly stake on like BSC or anything like that? Or is for the main time for now, people just plan on it being Polygon?
Yeah. So the staking will move from time to time. That's what
we nice.
Mainly because of there's two things. There's internal staking and there's external staking. So internal staking, we can definitely move that. Obviously, more easily with EVM. For external staking, whenever we release to a new chain, we want to encourage some liquidity and also people on that chain to acquire some tokens. So at that time, we'll usually be working with the staking platform on those chains to provide some staking incentive. So yeah, essentially we'll be doing both over time.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Hammy, do me a favor in the chat. He's who asked that question about BSC. Go ahead and @ChainGuardians and give me your Twitter handle. That way I can DM you for your rewards. Ultimate Gamer also asked a question here about whether or not the POW token is going to have any impact or involvement in the Cryptoverse. Are you allowed to tell me anything there? Or any plans on that?
Yeah, so the Cryptoverse token initially will be CGG, which will continue to have a stronger emphasis role around the governance. We've been working on the governance ecosystem for a little while, which we want to be smart contract based and people having a nice UI, which we do, of course, throughout all of our ecosystem. We are potentially looking at within the Cryptoverse what would be a secondary token to kind of do the play to earn. Currently, where our design philosophy lie is likely you will have one main CGG token that covers everything. Okay. Within different product line, we'll likely keep a separate secondary token. So which means everything around staking, NFT mining 1.0, NFT mining 2.0, as well as the staking platform, DeFi, will continue to be POW. Within the Cryptoverse, we'll likely open that up to other partner token as well, which means likely our Elrond token, perhaps our Avalanche token can also be used as currency inside Cryptoverse. It's not really limited to any. So of course, which means it will be open up for the POW token as well. However, we are looking at the play to earn portion of it within the Cryptoverse. There is a thought about looking at a secondary token for the Cryptoverse. Because there's also a lot of demand for that, from what demand or interest for that. So I would say in general, yes, but I don't think the POW token will be the primary token in the Cryptoverse, but it will be definitely be enabled as another ecosystem token, which will be limited to our partners and these, our internal tokens.
That makes sense. So you can kind of leverage the Cryptoverse just to add more use case to what the POW token can do. Really, that makes perfect sense. This is a great question. Ultimate Gamer, don't forget to @ChainGuardians. Hammy, I'm still waiting on you to @me in the chat with your Twitter handle. That way I can get your rewards. If you guys don't give me that information, I don't have a way to contact you and get your MetaMask address to send you stuff. So we got to do that. So this next question for you comes from Collector CG. So go ahead and get your Twitter handle ready for me. Was asking, they say, I'm concerned that I might be accumulating CDAFA for months and then not getting an NFT before they're all gone. Do you have any plans to be able to address that situation, convert to a different C token, etc.? What's the case for that type of scenario?
Yeah, so in terms of C token, we will likely be able to facilitate a tool and provide some LP from one C token to another. Given that the way that we have designed it, first of all, you cannot run out of supply, which means there is exactly 1,000 C DAFA for exactly one DAFA token. So in total, I think DAFA had 200 max supply, maybe it's 100. So it'd be 100,000. Let's just say the total DAFA NFT is 100,000. So there's total DAFA NFT there's 100. So therefore there's 100,000 C DAFA token. So from a total supply wise, you would not run out. So now the real question is, what if I only have a few and someone else buy up everything? Which is the kind of the issue we had with Mix and Mixi. But back then that model is a little bit different, which means first few Mixi require a lot more mix and then it kind of went down. So we thought that was interesting, people trying to accumulate that. So the way that we kind of lighten it this time is, okay, exactly 1,000 instead of having more and then less as it goes on. So for us, so that shouldn't be an issue. Now I think likely people will be able to put up a C DAFA pool themselves, but we'll also be looking at to say, okay, because we retain for all the mining, we retain actually 50% of the token. So we can do something like that, which means allow creating a trade pair between the C DAFA. So that we can do, which means to C token, both of them are kind of gamified token. We can kind of provide trade against each other.
Yeah.
And that's also an interesting one too, which means technically we can also provide PAL token to C DAFA at the rate, because again, both of them are gamified token, which also resolve or lighten the issue with our regulatory concern with had it be, CGG, which the discussion we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, no,
so in short, I think we'll be looking at that, but I think in near term, I don't see that as an issue, and we'll have to monitor. And at least this time around, like the next token, we kind of have a few tools in our back pocket to try to resolve that similar issue.
Well, yeah, and I feel like it's kind of everyone's natural tendency to kind of have the what if, like, worst case scenario happens, and so it's good to explore those things, and to know that there is at least thought and consideration going into it. So on the unlikely chance that it does happen, we're not trapped. Nobody's stuck with anything. That's always good.
I just want to mention, I think the main concern probably come from people which will participate in the Mix and Mixi scenario, which I think one will still have a lot of token. He just doesn't want to mint.
Just hanging, man.
So it may be a specific whale that Mixi had an issue with this. But I just want to mention, we are like mixed token is still on top of my mind in terms of can we do something with that. We toyed around a little bit about potentially merchandise, which means if you cannot get your Mixi NFT, then you can spend that to purchase merchandise. And that's something we've been discussing as a to kind of resolve the existing issue with people having the mixed token.
There will be like some sort of a way to loop it back into getting value in the ecosystem somewhere else. Like even if it's not for that specific NFT, you can get value somewhere else in the ecosystem. This question's a little bit more lighthearted. It's kind of fun. We talked a little bit about chain bunnies and stuff earlier. Even before we went live, we were talking about possible chain bunnies in the Cryptoverse and just little stuff and just kind of exploring what that could be. What can you say about Zombunnies? Zombunnies, everybody's heard about it. It's been out there in the ethersphere for a little while. Can you say anything about Zombunnies?
I haven't seen the updated, completed roadmap for Zombunny. I need to check where we are in terms of that commit. I don't know if we was when we had hit 100%. Or the status on that. But however, overall for the Chain Bunny series, we are looking at, of course, giving it more utility through, as we mentioned earlier, staking. We are also looking at merchandise more heavily around that. There will be some interesting new merchandise which we are creating around that area. I will follow up and see if our marketing then can come up more with a formal statement around that.
Oh yeah, no, totally. There is a couple people I need some Twitter handles from. Collector CG, hit me with your Twitter handle, and Daniel Mundragon, go ahead and hit me with your Twitter handle as well. Sorry, I'm trying to read everything at the same time. Let's see here. There's a bunch of questions in the chat here. Bum, bum. I think I had another one pulled.
Send a note to our CEO about Zoom bunnies. I'll get an answer. I'll Josh later, then you can broadcast on here.
That's exactly what I'll do. We'll send an announcement. We'll make a tweet about it. We'll send it to everybody.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, good stuff. Guys, go ahead and make sure you hit me with those Twitter handles. And here is the question that I was trying to find earlier. Let me copy this before I lose it again. Boom. So, Ebro or Ibro, go ahead and send me your Twitter handle as well, because your question is selected. He's asking about the Cryptoverse land sell. And this isn't really the scope of this conversation. So if it's not something you want to comment on or go into, totally fine, because this is all about internal staking. It's just an interesting question, so I'm asking it. Which is, since we're launching the NFT land sale through Polkastarter first, what went into the decision of launching that through Polkastarter versus doing it exclusively through ChainBoost, for example?
Yeah, the current scheduling is Polkastarter comes first, and then we come second right after. I think there was several major decisions. First of all, obviously Polkastarter is a very close community to us. Their team was very close to us. We did our launch on Polkastarter, so in a way, I kind of think of it as grandfather, right? As the other grandfather that they created us. So we obviously pay, tribute to that. And of course, as you guys know, we created our own Launchpad, and they were very open, as a decentralized ecosystem to continue work very closely with us. So obviously, I think near dear to my heart that, I think they of course, it's very, has a lot of we thank them a lot for grateful for, making us possible as well. So, but secondly, Polkastarter does have a bigger community. So I think it's important that, we address them. So that was kind of the main reason. So which means we think that overall impact will be very good still, having them kind of lead that. But of course, I don't think there's much overlap. I guess if user really does have POS and CGG token, they can kind of participate too much as well. So and I think overall, because our Cryptoverse launch will be on multiple different launchpad, so I really don't think there is any precedence of who's first versus second. We originally actually thinking that it's best that we put ours at the very end. It's not about putting our community last. It's just that because Cryptoverse is our project, so we want to make sure that we're demonstrating that we're confident even at the very end that we're covering everyone, right? We want every single launchpad to do very well, and that's our strategy, which is our entire philosophy from the beginning, which is multiple chain, multiple project, interoperable NFT. Which means technically you can say interoperable launchpad. We actually want, because on a project perspective, when they are launching on one platform versus launching on many platforms, of course, it's better for them to have more visibility across more communities. So we really want to embrace that. So I think order really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it is our project. We want to be successful in every single launchpad. So that's kind of the thought behind it.
Well, there's always those subtle nuances that unless you were there, you kind of aren't privy to those things about, like somebody who's coming into the community, last week or last month or whatever is not going to have any idea that ChainGuardians was launched on Polkastarter. And it's like the moment you say that, I think a lot of people in chat instantly are like, oh yeah, duh, get it. Don't forget where you came from. It's just the respect thing to do. It's really cool to hear that that's the way the decisions are being made. I love that. It's awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of time I still use the Idol song, which was the character we created for Polkastarter when we launched it. It actually stands for IDO San. So we actually have a lot of, it's really cool because any project launching, like on a day, it's like, oh, after I launch, it's gonna like 5x, 10x, it's gonna dump. So you have a lot of stress. So the thought was become like Idol San, which is like a play on the Yoda character. It's like, how do you even Zen while you're doing the IDO? So that was kind of the whole concept. So that's actually my profile pic. So that's why every time I turn on my computer, it's like and I think, and that's why we continue to build very good relationship with Polkastarter, right? Which obviously worked very well for us, very well for them. So yeah, we're really, I would say, essentially a strong partner there. Yeah.
I was looking at some of the new designs of some stuff that Noy was working on for. I can't show anything, but you guys just get to hear me talk about it and kind of be teased with that, I guess. But I was looking at some of the new stuff, and he had all kinds of different stuff about who you were just talking about, and his little Cuba designs, and they're adorable, and the Zen factor, that peace of mind, is exactly the feeling that I get whenever I was talking to. I use those exact words about like inner peace and mental just Zen and just having that. So it's awesome. It's just all full circle for me right now. It's great. I love it. Chat, is there any questions that anybody else has that are unanswered? And I want to make sure I got everybody's Twitter handles here. Let's make sure. I'm still looking for a Twitter handle for Ibro, or that could be a capital L and it could be Elbro. And that would be a very clever name. Like an elbow, but bro. I don't know, sorry. Can't stop myself. And then Collector CG, I'm also looking for your Twitter handle. Hit me with your Twitter handles. Reminiscence says, I love my Idon NFT. I mean, if you loved it before you knew the backstory, I can only imagine how great it is to have it now. Reminiscent is a very, very active and engaged community member. Just recently got a community spotlight, shouted out across all the social platforms and everything. Super engaged in Discord all the time. Like every time I'm in there, like peeking around and seeing what's going on, he's always in there and asking questions and engaged. So thanks for being a part of the community, brother, and actually being here in the live stream and engaging. Continue to be here. He asked a good question here. He's asking if we're considering providing any rewards for people who supply liquidity on Dinoswap by allowing them to stake the CGG USDC LP tokens internally. So can you stake the Dinoswap LP token on our platform? I don't know if that's really feasible.
Yeah, the LP token, which is CGG USDC, need to be staked inside their farm in order for you to earn. So now, can you stake the stake token? I think it might be possible, as long as the transfer function allows that. So because sometimes there's a lock on the the secondary farmable token. Because right now I think DinoSwap APY is still fairly high. I think it's over 100%. But yeah, I think all of that, we have designed our whole ecosystem is technically any type of token, as long as they follow the standard, then we can stake that. So which means either LP token, or after you stake it as a farm token, we can take that collateral and stake it further. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We will definitely look into that, so you can get like essentially a double dip. Essentially, it's almost like the quick token. You can get the dragon syrup or something like that. So which means take your CGG, add it to CGG LP, right, with USDC. LP, you can put a Dinoswap, but you get another replacement token and stake that to earn a power token. Yeah, that's interesting. It's another layer, but we could definitely consider that. Thank you.
Reminiscent, are you asking that question from the perspective of chain boost rewards and just not having to miss out on anything while we're in like the interminum of everything still getting linked together? I think that might be the basis of that question.
So that question definitely, because our priority was obviously to include that. So anything that's a stake token, essentially we just have to run additional cron job to kind of make sure we are grabbing those data as well as for consideration for a chain boost. So I think there's multiple of them that we're considering. So yeah, definitely, I think the LP token would be important to include. It is on the roadmap. I think just for the next, I don't think it will make it till like probably end of the quarter, because we are just 100%. Everyone is heads down on supporting the
grinding
Cryptoverse to be focusing on that part. But Chain Boost now has a kind of essentially a new business lead, which is kind of our CFO kind of stepping up to kind of take more leads on that. So yeah, that I'll see CFO Wei would do more of the work on that and looking at the overall ecosystem. But yeah, that's definitely, I think, high on the priority to include, which is calculating even the LP as part of the Chain Boost.
That makes perfect sense to me. CryptoMonk asks if there's this set schedule or roadmap on how often NFTs will be released. And earlier you had mentioned once a quarter. Is that currently the plan? Is to try to do a new character once a quarter? I thought I heard something around there. It might have been something else I'm confusing here.
For new characters, I think our release is actually more than once per quarter.
I think
once per month.
It might have been characters you can get earned from staking internally was once a quarter that you mentioned. It was something in the conversation. Sorry.
Yeah. So our current yes, correct. So our current staking runs for 90 days for I think one or two of the characters. For one of the character, I think it's Dafa. It actually runs for entire year because it's more of a rare character. We have in the pipeline many new characters that will be releasing after the current cycle is done. So when we create the initial staking, we didn't want to keep it as simple as possible. So which means just a standard flow. But then we'll be able to add an LP token to be able to farm, maybe with a different multiplier, as well as there will be new character introducing once the current one completes. So that's all in the pipeline. But in general, our design flow, we definitely have more than one character a month. Quite a few of them are kind of just waiting for, what's the right partnership or something they want to hold on to their major, updated brand, etc. So yeah, but we have a long pipeline and quite a few characters waiting in design.
I wish it could just all just flood out and be done all at one time and everybody could just enjoy it and we could talk about everything that are on all of the to-do lists that I see that are miles long that are fun. But man, sometimes we just have to keep these things behind the curtain. Every once in a while we get to have the conversation out in the open in the public like we are right now and peel that curtain back and let them see behind it. And some things we gotta play those cards close to the chest. There is, I think there's still a couple of people I'm waiting on Twitter handles, guys. I just need you to send me your name on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter, tell me that. Daniel Mendragon, CryptoMonk. I think your name is CryptoMonk on Twitter. We've messaged a few times. And then Elbro, I'm still waiting to get your Twitter handle as well. Idon, is there anything else that you're wanting to talk about while we got the community together here? Anything that's on your mind or anything?
Yeah, I think in general, just want to maybe touch on, I guess, the Cryptoverse that's coming up. I think obviously we actually spent, I think, close to a year now working on the Cryptoverse. Because I think some of the people may not know that when we created the Cryptoverse name, our current website, cryptoverse.vip, but the Cryptoverse name was created in 2018 when we created our original white paper, light paper, which was around the concept of Bitsy Naka is the defender guardian of our planet Earth, Terra. And the idea was every single planet, every single blockchain is in a way a planet. So therefore, overall, everything together is the Cryptoverse, which means create an all-inclusive, multiple different blockchain NFT. So I think it's really cool then that we're then able to say, hey, let's create the our version of the metaverse to kind of follow that concept. And I think the other thing that people may not realize is Robbie and I have been involved in the decentralized since the very beginning. Building inside it, we pretty much know all the major players there. So I think it was a very interesting way for us to see, okay, now how do I expand and kind of create that entire Cryptoverse concept. So I think that there will be a lot more stuff to reveal there, but I think it's a very exciting. Our metaverse is very different. It is in a way a true metaverse. It is in VR, VR compatible, and it also is one-to-one to real life. And yeah, I think that's gonna definitely something to look forward to. We're spending a lot of focus there currently.
Anytime I get to hear the founders that have obviously been here since the beginning talk about like the original dreams and the original vision of everything, it gives me that warm fuzzy feeling because it's evolving and it's just becoming real. It's just getting one step closer every day, every week that goes on. It gives me that warm fuzzy feeling to hear you talk about it, man. That's awesome. There's a couple people asking about the Cryptoverse land sale, guys. That's all going to be on Polkastarter. We're going to have, there's actually quite a few, not all on Polkastarter. Let me rephrase that. It's initially on Polkastarter. The first launch is on Polka. There's a bunch of blog posts about it. You can go right to our website and read our own blog posts about it, or Polkastarter also has quite a few. I'm also in the process right now of breaking down a video about how to get involved in the NFT land sale as well. So keep an eye out for that on the Cryptoverse YouTube channel. So there is a Cryptoverse YouTube channel and a Cryptoverse Twitter. If you guys aren't following that, go ahead and do so. Nice little plug there. So let's see here. Idon, anything else that you want to get into tonight?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, there is stuff, but every time I speak, then it becomes a leak, and gotta have to keep the cap on top.
Right. We can't give it all away at once. Elbro, I got you now. Sorry if I keep saying your name backwards. I just keep saying it every which way I can think of. I got it now. That last one recently it got me. It pops up in bright colors whenever you at ChainGuardian, so it's easy for me to see it while I'm talking and reading and typing and doing all the fun stuff. So, guys, we talked about a lot tonight. A lot about internal staking, why we got into the different token models, the legalities behind it, but also the massive amounts of flexibility that come to our ecosystem because we're going that route. And it really does keep us from ever getting trapped in a box, whether we need to pivot for something that the community just desires or pivot for new technology that comes out that doesn't even exist in the market today. We have that flexibility with the way that the system is designed because we have brilliant people like the NFT professor and our other founders who are driving this ship and keeping it on track. So Idon, thank you so much for taking time and giving time to us, me, the community, and having this conversation out where everybody can see it and hear it and learn from you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh, and thank you so much for the community to be participating and listening. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. This is pretty much going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you for everybody who asked questions and engaged with us. Sorry for anybody who's tuning in right at the very last second. The broadcast will all be uploaded where you can go back and you can watch it later. I'm also going to do some of my editing magic and come up with some fun little clips, and we'll send it out. So you'll probably be seeing a couple of clips from this AMA just floating around Twitter and whatnot later. So don't worry, guys. If you missed it live, you will always be able to go back and watch it. But thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and sign off. This is Josh and Idon from ChainGuardians. We'll see you later, guys.
Thanks so much,
隅でまた霞み始めてる決意揺らぎそうでも閉ざされた